You know that feeling, right? That kind of frustration.
Hmm.
When you're trying to learn something new, maybe you read an article or, listen to a lecture.
Yeah, watch a video.
Exactly.
Right.
And you feel like you're absorbing it. But then, maybe a day later, maybe even less,
Yeah.
you try to actually use it or explain it.
And it's just gone.
Yeah, like trying to catch smoke. It just
Yeah.
hasn't stuck.
Oh, absolutely. That's the classic issue with, well, with passive learning, isn't it?
Right.
Information comes at you, but it doesn't really get into you. Our brains, they aren't just like hard drives waiting for a download.
Oh,
They're
wow.
these dynamic systems, and they learn best when we interact, when we do things.
That makes perfect sense.
Hmm.
And, well, that struggle, that whole challenge of really acquiring knowledge,
Yeah.
that's exactly why I found the source material for this deep dive so fascinating.
Ah, yes.
We've been looking at this really interesting article. It introduces something called the Gyanpeeth Experience.
Which is part of the bigger Taxshila model.
Right. And the perspective it offers, it feels, I don't know, both ancient somehow and also really relevant, really
But
modern.
it does. It feels like it's fundamentally trying to redefine the learner's role in the whole process.
Yes. So our mission today really is to unpack this framework. We want to get a handle on the core ideas terms like seed of knowledge, book to brain, learnography,
Those are key terms.
and really understand how it suggests we can transform that relationship between you, the learner, and the knowledge you're trying to, well, master.
It's about moving beyond just knowing about something, isn't it? Towards like deep understanding and actually being able to do something with it.
Absolutely. So get ready, because we're exploring a learning method that really aims to put you in the driver's seat. The goal isn't just understanding, it's genuine competence, mastery.
Oh, okay. Let's dive in.
So where do we start? The Gyanpeeth Experience.
Yeah, let's start there. It's sort of the heart of this framework, nested within that wider Taxshila model. The source, it describes Gyanpeeth not just as a physical place, like a room, but more as a vibrant, dynamic learning space, an environment.
It calls it the seed of knowledge. That phrase really jumped out at me. It implies, like, ownership, doesn't it?
It does.
But what makes it different from, say, just a classroom or my desk at home, the article really stresses that knowledge isn't just taught here.
No.
It's actively transferred.
Precisely. And that transfer, it hinges heavily on what the source calls, get this, motor-driven interaction, cognitive engagement, and experiential application.
Okay, motor-driven interaction. That sounds physical.
It is. It's about getting your body involved, connecting movement with your thinking, and then applying what you're learning right away. It's stepping beyond just listening or reading to actively doing the learning.
So instead of a teacher just, talking at you, the learner is actually physically doing something, like writing or maybe building something, drawing, coding.
Speaking aloud even.
Yeah.
Anything that involves some kind of physical action alongside that focused thinking and problem solving, it's less about receiving information and more about what they term motorized learning.
Motorized learning.
And that mix, that thinking and doing together, it's absolutely crucial because the Taxshila model, which is like the blueprint for how this works, it focuses on building something called brainpage modules.
Brainpage modules. What are those exactly?
Think of them not just as like isolated facts you've memorized. They're more like integrated, accessible units of understanding, etched deeply, the article suggests, into your brain's actual architecture.
Wow. Okay. Etched in. So how do you build these brainpage modules? The article talks about book-to-brain learning.
Yes, that's presented as the primary way. It seems to almost bypass traditional lectures entirely.
Interesting.
The focus shifts to direct interaction with the source materials, source books, specific tasks, maybe real-world problems you have to solve.
It's not just reading passively.
Definitely not. It's the process of taking information from a source, could be a book, data, a diagram, whatever, and actively transferring it into, well, the working structure of your brain through deliberate practice, maybe visualization, and critically, that motor action we mentioned, that physical component.
Yeah, okay.
That's the core of what they call book-to-brain learnography. You are the active agent, etching that knowledge into your own neural pathways.
That sounds, well, much more solid than just hoping you remember facts later. It's like you're internalizing it through action, making it ready for use.
Like training your brain and body together, yes.
Okay.
And the framework points to 3 essential elements that have to work together in this Gyanpeeth space to really achieve mastery.
What are those?
Skill, knowledge, and experience.
Ah, the triad. Okay. How do those 3 fit together in this, active model?
Right. So skill in this context is that motorized knowledge the physical actions, the performance part of what you've learned.
Got it.
Knowledge is the result of that book-to-brain process, actually building those deep brain page modules. And experience is the application, the reflection, testing it out in the real world, that integrated skill and knowledge. They're not separate stages you do one after another.
Ah, so they're interwoven.
Exactly. You develop them all at the same time through that active process.
So the learner isn't just sitting there soaking things up. They're constantly doing things that build all three simultaneously.
That's the idea. They might be, say, writing down key concepts while actually rehearsing how they demonstrate something.
Or like manipulating objects while solving a related math problem.
Precisely. The Taxshila model even structures this using space-defined segments. Learners take on active roles, sometimes called model learners or small teachers.
Teachers.
Yeah, like explaining concepts out loud to themselves, or maybe to peers, but through action. Or skill performers. They're always directly involved in transferring and showing their understanding.
And this whole active process, it's guided by something the source calls system learnography. How does that structure things?
System learnography basically provides an organized, repeatable process for this transfer. The Taxshila model introduces a principle called SOTIM.
SOTIM. What does that stand for?
It sequences the learning. S is for space, your dedicated workspace, your seat. O is for object, the study materials you're interacting with.
Okay.
T is for time, structured learning blocks or modules. S, for instance, specific problem-solving tasks or challenges. And, crucially, M is for motor action.
The physical part again. Rehearsal, writing, performing.
Exactly. SOTIM guides how that information gets transferred into the brain's working architecture systematically.
That structure. That makes a lot of sense, actually. It's not just random busy work. It sounds like a design process, trying to align with how our brains naturally learn through, well, interaction and doing things over.
Right. And the Gyanpeeth, then, isn't just a location. It's the functional node, the place where this structured system learning, guided by SOTIM, powered by motor action, actually happens.
It's where that mind-body, that cognitive motor connection really comes alive.
That's it. And within this model, finishing your learning, it isn't just about passing a recall test.
No.
No, it's the result of deep learning. You show it by not only understanding a concept, but by being able to fluently apply it, perform the related task, maybe even innovate with that knowledge.
So your seed of knowledge, it becomes this personalized active zone where you literally construct your own mastery.
You got it. Tasks get broken down into manageable interactions. Those brain page rehearsals become active practice.
And learning isn't just measured by what you remember, but what you can do. It sounds very measurable, sustainable.
And the feedback loop is mostly internal. By actively doing the tasks, you quickly see where your own gaps are.
Self-correction.
Right. You practice specific corrections through more motor-driven engagement, and you build confidence directly through performing successfully. You become the architect of your own understanding.
You know, this whole approach feels incredibly relevant today. We're just swimming in information, aren't we?
Drowning sometimes.
Yeah. But often lacking that practical competence, that deep understanding to actually use it well. The article makes a good point that conventional teaching, when it's purely passive.
It can lead to boredom, right, and a very superficial grasp of things.
Exactly. And it tends to make learners dependent on the teacher, doesn't it, as the only source?
It can, yes. The Gyanpeeth model, though, it really seems to put the learner back in the center as the active driver.
Fostering independence.
Fueling curiosity, building motivation through the satisfaction of actually mastering something through doing.
And that motor foundation, that physical engagement,
Yeah.
the source implies that's key for really solidifying long-term memory
Yeah,
and practical intelligence.
that's the argument. Those are absolutely essential skills for the world we live in now, which is changing so fast.
For sure.
And is presented as something designed to be inclusive, potentially scalable across different subjects.
What?
Adaptable for all ages, really, from kids up to advanced professionals.
It really is a transformative vision, isn't it?
Yep.
Shifting the focus from passive teaching to active knowledge transfer, happening right in the hands and brains of the learners.
It's described as like rediscovering ancient wisdom, but also a big leap forward in how we think about education.
Yeah.
It really reclaims learning as something embodied, meaningful, and deeply personal.
Okay, so let's sort of recap. We've taken this deep dive into the Gyanpeeth Experience. We understand it now as this dynamic learning space, part of the wider Taxshila model.
Right, and we've seen how it shifts the focus away from just passively receiving information.
Towards active, motor-driven knowledge transfer. where you build your own knowledge through direct interaction and actually doing things.
And it works by tapping into the brain's natural systems,
Hmm.
bringing together that triad skill, knowledge, and experience in a really powerful, integrated way.
And why does this matter today? Well, maybe more than ever. Because it fosters independence, it helps build deep, lasting memory.
Develops those practical skills we need.
And it tackles some of the limits of conventional education by putting you, the learner, right back in the center.
Exactly. And, the article kind of leaves us with this really compelling thought to chew on. If Gyanpeeth is defined as the seat of knowledge transfer, this space where you create your own understanding through action and engagement,
Yeah.
then what small step could you take, maybe even today, to claim your own seat of knowledge?
To become a more active participant in your own learning journey, like what's one thing you could try to learn not just by reading about it or listening?
But by actually doing it.
Something to think about.
Don't just study it, experience it, apply it, master it.
Step into your own Gyanpeeth experience.
Just claim your seat of knowledge.
Yeah. Well, we hope this deep dive has given you some fascinating new perspectives on how you learn best.
Thanks for joining us.